There is a substantial risk of loss associated with trading forex, binary options, stocks, or equities, collectively, asset classes. Only risk capital should be used for trading. Trading in any asset classes is not appropriate for everyone. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. No representation is being made that investors will make profits, or will not sustain losses. Before trading in any asset classes, investors should consult with their professional broker, financial advisor, or financial consultant to determine whether trading asset classes is appropriate. Investors who trade in any asset classes should only do so if the capital used for this purpose represents funds that an investor can afford to lose without adversely impacting the investor's lifestyle. No trading strategy or methodology is without risk of loss. No trading strategy is risk-free, and no trading strategy can guarantee profits or freedom from losses. Investors risk losing the cost to execute any transaction, including associated commissions or fees. You should carefully consider whether trading in any asset class is appropriate for you in light of your investment experience and financial resources. Any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. None of the statements or materials in the Auvoria Prime chat rooms constitute a solicitation or recommendation to buy or sell.
Good afternoon or evening, Auvoria Prime. My name is Steve Didier. I am the resident credit professional for Auvoria Prime. And today we are going to be talking about credit cards. All things credit cards, from starter cards to the top travel cards to how to properly use them to build credit and everything in between. So as usual, if you have any questions when I'm going over this stuff, just drop it in the chat. I will try and answer each and everybody that's in there. And let's see, make sure we're here. All right, excellent. Okay, so there's a lot of misinformation out there about credit cards, primarily in the way that you use them. You'll hear a lot of people talking about, leave a 30%, 30% utilization on your credit card. And that kind of bothers me for a couple of reasons. One, utilization on your credit cards is really, really important. Anytime that they report to the bureaus that you're utilizing more than about 25% of your limit, it's going to start dragging your score down. So that 30% is a little off right there, because really, if you want to get really super nerdy and really detailed and anal about this, it's about 28.9%. So inevitably, when I've told my coaching clients 30, they leave, 30, 31%, 32%. And, there's a big drop off in score right about that 28.9%. So if you have to leave a balance, try and make sure it's under 25% or less. You go above that 25%, it's going to start dragging your score down. The higher you go, the more negative the impact on your score. When you get those cards maxed out, it can be hitting your score in a really, really big way. To use a personal experience of mine, I had maxed out one card. It was my biggest card. It was like a $20,000 card. My other cards hadn't caught up to that one yet. So I maxed it out for business purposes, and we had some expenses that we needed to handle. And when that reported to the business, or reported to the bureaus that my card was maxed out, it hit my score by about 80 points across all three bureaus. So it's a really, really significant chunk that it can take off your score. So utilization is important. Now let's look at the other aspect of that. There's a very persistent myth going around that says you've got to leave a balance on your credit cards to help your score. That is absolutely untrue. My gut instinct is that was a rumor started by the banks so that they could charge people more interest. I don't have any proof of that. That's just a gut feeling on my part, because it's in their best interest. If people are carrying a balance, they get to charge your money. If you're using a credit card, you can charge all you want on it. If you pay it off within 30 days, you don't pay any interest on it. So when you leave it on there, that's when you start accruing interest. So that's one of the reasons that I really, really highly encourage everybody to purchase everything with their credit cards. Never use a debit card. And there's several reasons for that. With the credit cards, the more you use them and pay it off in full, the more you use it and pay it off in full, the more it's going to show the bank or financial institution that you have the financial wherewithal to do it and that you're responsible with your debts, you're paying it off every month. So they're going to keep raising your limit in the hopes that eventually you spend enough that you can't pay off and they get to charge a whole bunch of interest on there. So that's one reason to always use your credit cards. The second reason to always use your credit cards and never your debit card is, generally speaking, you get a lot more protection when you use your credit card. And there can be a lot of different types of protection. There are a lot of different cards have different things. Like with my travel card, I get automatic, trip reimbursement if I can't make the flight, different things like that. And you get points if you have the right credit cards. If you got your credit to the point where you can get those really good travel cards and everything, you're going to accrue points for every dollar that you spend. And then you'll be able to use those points to get airline tickets, hotel stays, or whatever. I rarely pay for airline tickets because every single thing that I buy goes on my cards and I get points, and then I just redeem those. So anytime I fly and take a vacation, I rarely pay for plane tickets. So it's important, but probably one of the biggest reasons to use your credit card instead of your debit card is that the fraud protection. If you use your card in the wrong place and it gets cloned, or somebody gets your PIN number or whatever, and they go and they spend a bunch on the card, or they withdraw money on your debit card or whatever, it's going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get reimbursed for those transactions or that money that's been withdrawn. That can vary from institution to institution, from bank to bank and credit union. They can have different rules, but it's a heck of a lot more different than if you put it on your credit card. If your credit card gets cloned or stolen and they use that, most credit cards are just going to automatically, hey, this is fraud. They're automatically just going to wipe it off your bill and reimburse you, and there'll be no harm, no foul. So those are 3 or 4 really, really solid reasons never to use your debit card, if at all possible. If you've got a credit card, there should be no reason that you're using your debit card, unless maybe withdraw cash, whatever, but be very careful with that. One of my own experiences with that, I was sitting in my office here and I got a call from my bank. In this case, it was Navy Federal. Actually, I didn't get a call. I got a notification on my phone because I have my credit cards all set so that anytime there's a transaction over $50, I get a banner notification. So I got a notification that there was a $68 charge at a GameStop in New Jersey. Well, I'm in Phoenix. So obviously I wasn't at a GameStop in New Jersey. So I immediately called Navy Federal and asked to speak to the fraud department. And before I could even say anything, they would say, hey, let me guess, you're not at a GameStop in New Jersey. I'm like, nope. They canceled the transaction immediately, canceled the card, FedExed me a new one, and it was just done. It was nipped in the bud. So that's another thing too. Pretty much all your credit cards you can set up to notify you and push notification anytime there's a charge on there. So it's just another safety feature. But there was absolutely no going back and forth or anything. They just said, okay, that's fraudulent. You're not there. Okay, cool. And they just wiped it off my credit card immediately and got me a new card, because somehow somebody had gotten that card. And I have no idea how that could have happened, because I'm in the game. I see identity theft and fraud and all this all the time. So I am ultra careful with my credit cards, especially if somebody gets a hold of those. They can, most of my cards have around a 20K limit. So I don't want somebody going out there and going crazy. So I'm very, very careful with my cards. But in the event that, your credit card gets stolen or used or cloned or whatever, getting that stuff refunded is a heck of a lot easier than if they use your debit card. So keep that in mind. Now, outside of utilization, which has a very, very heavy impact on your score, there's also the number of cards that you should have. Now, you're going to hear a lot of different people give you a lot of different numbers. I was listening to some guy, some self-proclaimed credit expert, and he was saying that no more than 3 to 5 credit cards, any more than 3 to 5 credit cards, and it starts being detrimental. I mean, that's the biggest load of BS in the world. If you look at the FICO high achievers, if you look at every single person in the US that has a FICO score of 800 or higher, these are the so-called FICO high achievers, every single person, on average, they're going to have 7 credit cards. So, is that the hard and fast number? No, but it kind of gives you an idea that you need more than just a couple credit cards if you want to get truly, truly exceptional scores. Myself personally, I have 10. That's a little bit of overkill, but it's certainly not hurting me in any way, shape, or form. And I know people who have got, 500 who've got 4 or 5 credit cards. But on average, you're going to see people in the 800 club are going to have 7 credit cards. So let's take a look at how that breaks down. Depending on where you're at in your credit journey, if you're at the very beginning and you need to build credit, or if you had a instance in life that your credit took a hit, like me, I had my real estate company in Las Vegas, and in 2008 I got my ass handed to me. I was wiped out, reset to 0, got divorced at the same time, and I was wiped out. Every single negative thing you could possibly put on one credit report, I had it. Bankruptcies, tax liens, judgments, charge off credit cards, multiple repossessed cars, multiple foreclosed homes, everything. Every single thing negative you can possibly put on there, I had it. And it took me to go from about 400 was my score to get back to 800. It took me about 26 months. Now, if I could go back and do it again with what I know now, I could make it a little bit quicker, but that's about the time it took. So depending on where you're at in your credit journey, like I said, if you're suffering, if you went through something like that and you're completely reeling, or you really have no credit, you're probably going to have to start with some, these starter cards, these builder cards. I'm gonna give you a heads up right now. They're absolutely horrible cards. They have multiple fees. There's usually application fees and annual fees and then monthly fees, and the interest rate is absolutely shit. It's horrible, but they're a necessary evil to build the credit that you need to get the better cars and the better cars and better cards. So if you're starting from absolute zero, like you're young, you have no credit whatsoever, what I would do is find somebody, family member, friend, something like that, to add you as what's called an authorized user. An authorized user is kind of a neat little trick. It's kind of a credit hack, if you will. Anybody that has a credit card can add somebody as what's called an authorized user. Pretty simple to do. There's no credit check. There's no qualifying. So if, say I'm talking to my brother or whatever, I'm asking him to add me as an authorized user. All he has got to do is contact his credit card company, give them my name, address, social security number. They put me on as an authorized user. They send a card to him, in this case, with my name on it, but he doesn't have to give me that card. Hang on to that. As an authorized user, I have zero say over anything in that card. I can't spend anything on it. I can't make any account changes. I can't do anything. But what it does is transfers his whole credit history on that card onto my credit report. And that's important to note. It's not like, hey, he added me. It's April of 2022. So as in April of 2022, it starts showing the history of the card. If he's had that card for 10 years, that whole 10 years gets transferred onto my credit report. And that can be a really big score booster. It can make a huge difference, especially if you have absolutely no credit. Like if you're a blank slate, one of my best friends in Vegas put his daughter on his card that he'd had for, I think, about 15 years. And she went from not having a score, zero credit history, no score, to being like 750. Now, there's asterisks to this, of course. It is not the end all. It is a great boost to your score to get you in the door, but lenders can see that it's not your card. They can see that you're an authorized user on that card. In this case, his daughter was 18. She obviously hasn't been making payments on a credit card for 15 years. So they're not stupid. They can tell the difference. However, that score will be enough to open doors to get you into some decent mid-tier credit cards. Because what she did is, once that showed up in her credit report, she went into Wells Fargo. Now, they didn't give her a giant limit. I think they gave her $5,000 or something. But it's a start, especially for somebody who had no credit. Now, if she had gone and applied for that card without being added as an authorized user, she would have been denied. There's no question. She wouldn't have gotten it. She would have been, stuck with one of the really, really bad starter cards. But instead, she got a good mid-tier card with some benefits. I think there's 1.5% cash back or something like that on that card. But the most important thing is she's on the board. So she's got the authorized user on her credit. Now she has her own credit card with a decent limit. So when she goes to buy a car or apply for another credit card in the future, it's going to be a lot different. Now, when you start looking at some of the top tier cards and things like that, there's going to be other criteria other than just score. They're going to require you to have your own cards for a certain length of time, or qualify for a certain limit, or have a certain income. There's a lot of different variables in that, but you can get some really, really good cards just kind of piggybacking off of somebody else's credit, kind of borrowing their credit history on a particular card and, take it from there. So whether you're rebuilding or just starting, if you can find somebody who can add you as an authorized user to a couple cards, 2 or 3, that gives a huge boost to your credit score. Any more than that is, there's the point of diminishing returns, but, getting on 2 or 3 is a big, big deal, and it'll do wonders for your score. So if you're just building, you do that, your score is going to be great. Then you can get into, wherever you bank at. You can probably get a credit card there, or Capital One is a great mid-tier cards. They've got Quicksilver One and the Platinum. Both of those are really good cards that they're not going to require an extensive credit history to qualify for, but it gets you on the board and allows you to start building your own credit history. And then you can add more to that as you go on. Your score goes higher, and you can just kind of keep building from there. The same sort of strategy applies if you are fixing your credit. If you're going through a credit repair process, if you got some dings on there, collections, charge-offs, whatever it is, you can get added to an authorized user. It's probably going to give you a pretty good bump in the score. And if you combine that with going through into some sort of credit repair program where, while that's reporting, it usually takes 2 to 4 weeks after they add you as an authorized user for it actually to show up in your credit report. So what I do with clients, I'll put them in my credit repair program and have them get added to a couple authorized users if they know some people that can do it. Takes about 2 to 4 weeks for those to show up on the credit report. And in the first 2 to 4 weeks, we're probably going to get a whole bunch of stuff wiped off the credit report. So most of the time they see a radical change in score, even in the first 30 days. Then depending on where their score ends up, that'll tell us, okay, well, you could qualify for this loan, or you can qualify for this card, or whatever. There's it's all custom after that, because no 2 credit reports are the same. No 2 people's results are the same, as in terms of removal. So the score bump that you get from a combination of removing negative items and adding an authorized user is going to vary from person to person, but it's going to be significant depending on where you're starting at. You know, you can see a big jump even in the first 30 days, but depending on where you end up, that'll tell us the next step. I'm like, okay, well, your score is here. Now you can qualify for this card and this card. You know, it's all very kind of customized approach, but it's the same philosophy. You kind of piggyback off of somebody else's good credit. Now, here's a very, very, very important thing to note about the authorized users. It's not about the person adding you as an authorized user. They don't have to trust you to add you as an authorized user. Like I said, you have no say over the account. You cannot make any changes. You have no executive power whatsoever. You have to trust the person that's adding you. That is super important, because whatever they do to that credit card goes in your credit report. If they have a late payment, your credit takes the hit. If they go ahead and max that card out, remember we were talking about the utilization, they go and max that card out, your credit takes the hit as well. So it's really not about them trusting you as an authorized user. It's about you trusting that person who added you, because anything that they do is going to go on, well, for that particular card anyway, is going to go on your credit report. So make sure that they're responsible and frugal, and they're making the payments on time, and they're not carrying a balance, because if they start doing that kind of stuff, it's going to drag your credit down, and all the work that you're putting into it and all the money you're paying out to have it fixed or whatever, it's going to be kind of pissed in the wind. Nobody wants that. So just be very careful in who you select to add you as an authorized user. You can see some really, really big changes. Like about a year ago, we did a client, and he did exactly as we asked. He went and got added onto 2 authorized users. And these cards were old cards. They were at least 10 years old. They had like $20,000 and $25,000 limits. You know, his dad was pretty well off, had great credit. And we got a near clean sweep of all the stuff off his credit report in the first 30 days. He didn't have a ton. He had like 3 or 4 collections, and that was it. That was all he had on his credit. And I think we got pretty much every single thing off in the first 30 days, and he got added on those 2 cards. He went from low 400s to low 700s. There was over a 300-point jump in the first 30 days. So needless to say, he was ecstatic. And then he was able to go out and get a couple of his own credit cards. He was able to go out and finance a card at a really, really low rate. And that started him being able to build his own credit history and start fleshing out. And then now, last time I talked to him, you know, he had qualified for an Amex Platinum, and, you know, he was enjoying all of the benefits that good credit can bring. So it was good to see that. But yeah, it's important with the authorized user that you trust the person that's putting you on. Now, that's how I would jumpstart anything. If I was reset to 0 or had credit repair or else was just wiped out, that's exactly what I do. I would find a couple of people to add me as authorized users to their credit cards, and I would get to work on getting the negative stuff off. And then as the credit score kept climbing, I would start adding in the right pieces strategically, because when you're building credit, you've got to build intentionally. It's not just randomly throwing out applications, whatever credit card you think looks cool. You've got to have a structured approach to it. You got to do things intentionally, and knowing that path is the big part of what we do in terms of coaching, because every time you apply for any sort of credit, it's going to generate an inquiry. And that inquiry is going to ding your score. That inquiry can stay on your credit report for 2 years. So you want to minimize the amount of inquiries that you have, because too many inquiries, just in and of themselves, too many inquiries can get you disqualified from being approved for a loan or a credit card or whatever. Like I had got my score back up over 800, and on all 3 bureaus, it was 810 plus. And I applied for a Citibank. It was American Airlines branded, or Citi branded American Airlines card. the executive. Came with all the perks, the Admiral's lounges and free check baggage and all the stuff. And I was flying American quite a bit at the time, so I thought that would be kind of a good card to have. Earlier that week, I had applied for a business card through Chase. I didn't have my business credit fleshed out to where it should be, so I had to do a personal guarantee on this one. So even though the business card that I got for the credit repair company doesn't show up on my credit, the inquiries show up on my credit. They hit me twice for whatever reason. So when I applied for that Citi card, or the American Airlines card by Citibank, I got flat out denied. Even though I had 810 plus credit scores, the reason that they gave me for denial was too many inquiries in the last 12 months. I had 2, but they were too recent as far as Citibank was concerned for them to issue me a card. So even though I made great money and had impeccable credit, they just flat out told me no. So you want to keep the inquiries to a minimum. You want to be very strategic with how you apply for credit. So that's why I'm saying it's not just a shotgun approach, applying for whatever and whenever. You've got to apply for the right cards at the right time, so you're not adding unnecessary inquiries, because you don't want to continually damage your credit with inquiries, and you don't want a bunch of inquiries on your credit report anyway, because lenders can and will turn you down based on that alone. And they can be kind of tough to get off sometimes. It's still something that we can do, but why create extra work when you can just be strategic about it in the first place? So now, as you're building your credit, you've got, you're starting to get credit cards, you're starting to get credit history, and you've got, mid-7s in the credit, and you've got payment history. And here's one other trick I want to tell you with the credit cards. I think we had touched on this when we were talking about utilization, but you really want to use them as much as possible. Use them, pay them off. When I first started, I started with a Capital One card. It was the first card I got when I was rebuilding my credit. And it had a $500 limit. That was it. So I had the app on my phone so I could log in anytime easily, and you could just make payment with a swipe of a thumb, So I would be maxing that thing out. I didn't ever go over 500, but I would be putting $450 on there and go pay it off, and then go spend a bunch more. Repay every single thing that I was buying. I put through that credit card if it would fit on there, and I would pay it off. So I was paying off 4 or 5 times a month. But when the banks see that, they keep bumping your credit limit up. So, pretty soon that 400 or that 500 became 1,000, became 2,000, et cetera, et cetera. But that works too. When I got some other cards, I kind of switched cards and I started focusing on those. And I was spending everything through those, I was paying my rent with the cards, everything. So A, I was racking up points, and B, I was showing them that, hey, I can handle some larger limits. I've got the money. I'm going to be charging. You're going to make money off me, because they make money every single time you charge something as well. So they make the bigger interest rate on you carrying your balance, but they're making a couple points every single time you purchase something too. So the more that you put through them, the more they're going to like you, and the higher limit they're going to get. So once you get these limits pushed up, there's a couple cutoffs. One, if you're applying for any sort of Visa signature product, I don't care who it's through, you're going to have a minimum $5,000 starting limit. So if you don't qualify for a $5,000 starting limit, you're going to get turned down for those cards no matter what your score looks like. So there are a couple factors that go into that. Obviously, they look at your score, but they also will look at the limits on your other cards. So if you're applying for a card that requires, minimum $5,000 starting limit, or minimum $10,000, and you've only got a couple, little baby cards at, like a Fingerhut card at $100 and a Victoria's Secret card at $300, they're not going to look too favorably on you, because they don't see any evidence of you being able to handle a higher limit. So when you get these cards, you also want to be strategic in how you spend them. You want to spend them, pay it off, spend and pay it off, spend and pay it off. That'll show the card issuers that you can handle a higher limit. You get those limits up to $5,000, $10,000. Now you can start applying for the really, really good cars. And there are some amazing cars out right now in terms of travel benefits and things like that. The Amex Platinum and the Chase Sapphire Reserve are probably the two heavyweights in the travel industry. Now, I burned Amex a while ago, and Amex is one of the only companies that keeps a very official blacklist. I found out the hard way. I burned them for about 30 grand back in 08, 09. Never paid them. And I got obviously the card was charged off, went to collections, whatever. When I got my score back up to 800, I'm like, I don't want that Amex Platinum back. They didn't even run my credit. They didn't even run my credit. They just ran my name through, filtered it through the blacklist first, and they're like, nope, you burned us, so we're not taking you back in unless you pay us off the full amount. Then we'll consider it, but it's not a guarantee. So the last thing I was going to do is apply, spend $30,000 to pay them off, and then have them reject me for a card. It's not going to happen. It's not that important to me, but that is a great card. Great card. That Amex Platinum, it comes with a lot of benefits. This is the other one, Chase Sapphire Reserve. That's the one that is pretty much the other big travel card. The perks and benefits of this card and the Amex Platinum are absolutely amazing. A lot of people will complain. The knee-jerk reaction to this is like, because on my card, the annual fee is $550. On the Chase Sapphire, or the Chase Sapphire Reserve is $550. The Amex Platinum, I believe, is $650. And a lot of people's knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, that's stupid. No, why would you pay that for an annual fee? Because you just don't know. That's why. If you do the math on it, it makes sense. $550 annual fee. Okay, what do you get for that? Well, first of all, you get a $300 annual travel credit. So anything you spend on travel, you're going to get, like you go buy $500 plane tickets. When that hits your statement, they're going to credit you $300. That's what happens once a year. It can be any sort of travel, hotels, airfare. They'll put it toward Uber and Lyft and whatever. So $300 a year you're getting on travel credits. So that brings that annual fee effectively down to $250. You also get TSA, the global pre-check and TSA pre-screen. What is that? I'm drawing a blank. Either way, that's $100 every 4 years. So they pay for that. You get your priority pass select lounge pass, so you can get into the cool lounges at the airport and stuff like that. That's $100 a year. They cover that. So right now you've brought that annual fee at $550 down to almost nothing, and that's just the some of the hard costs that they reimburse you for. If you don't travel, if you never travel and you don't get that $300 reimbursement, well, the car is probably not worth it for you. But if you do any sort of travel, you take one trip a year, this car is probably going to be worth it for you. The benefits of this card, the intangible ones, are what makes it really special, though. To give you an example, went down to Playa del Carmen. My girlfriend and I stayed at the Thompson. The Thompson is in the luxury hotel collection with this card. So it was ineligible, being that I reserved it with this card, got an automatic upgrade. So I basically did the lowest room. And because I used this card, it gave me an automatic bump up to a king suite with a balcony. And, in the 2 weeks that we stayed there, that couple $100 a night, it was worth, more than $1,500. It might have been, $2,500 worth of just that, the bump up in the room. But it's the whole experience as well, because you get a certain level of VIP service with that. Because I use that card to reserve the hotel or pay for the hotel, we also got free breakfast for both of us every single day. And that's some continental breakfast crap, buffet style. No, actual breakfast, order what you want, eat. It was absolutely fantastic. The restaurants there are amazing. So, that there's a value there. There's a lot of different things. Their concierge can help you book stuff. They can help you get VIP passes to concerts. You know, there's a lot of things, a lot of like VIP perks and benefits that comes to having cards like this, whether it's this one or the Amex Platinum. And if you're really up there and you're really balling, you've got the Amex Centurion card, or the black card as it's known. And that card is by invite only. You do not get to apply for that card. Amex has to invite you, which means you have to have other Amex cards. And there's a lot of kind of different input on what it takes to qualify for that card, to qualify for an invite to apply. I have heard people say that you have to be spending at least $300,000 a year, $250,000 to $300,000 a year on your current Amex cards. A friend of mine told me that he had to up it to spending. He didn't get his invite until he was spending $1 million a year through his other Amex cards. So some people say, 50 grand a month. There's a lot of misconfusion, but it's going to be at least $300,000 a year that you're running through the other Amex card to even have a chance at getting invited. Once you get invited, if you get approved, there is a $10,000 initiation fee and then a $5,000 a year annual fee just to have that card. Is it worth it? If you got that kind of money, you're not going to worry about $5,000 a year annual fee, I don't think. But the VIP perks of this card are next level. That concierge for the black card can get you pretty much anything. If it's legal, they can make it happen. You want J-Lo to sing at your kid's 10th birthday party, they can make that happen. I mean, you're going to pay whatever the going rate to get J-Lo there, but they can make it happen. They have those kind of connections. You want to take a helicopter trip from Patagonia over to Antarctica, or lease a yacht in the Maldives, whatever. They can make it happen. They have the connections to make whatever you can think of happen. So, you got to have some money, got to have a little extra discretionary income to qualify for that card. But it's that's the big daddy, the heavyweight champion of credit cards, as it will. So you got a wide spectrum. You got the starter cards, you got the credit ones and the indigos and the green dots and things like that. Then you got the mid-tier cards, and you got the really good travel cards and benefits. There's cashback cards. If you don't travel, there's other ones that you can get that, fit your lifestyle. But once you get your credit up to there, that's the thing. You've got options. So if you don't travel that much, those cards may not be worth it for you, maybe, but there are some cashback cards that are really great. So you can kind of pick and choose at that point. And then if you get really, really, really up there, you have the option for certain cards like the black card, or Chase Private Bank has their own credit card as well. And that's not as mysterious as the Amex black card. You basically have to have $10 million assets under management with JP Morgan Private Client. Then you can be invited to get that card. I don't think the VIP level of treatment is on par with the Amex Black Card, but I don't know. There are people who get it and they really, really like it, but it's precious few people that have, over 10 million assets under management with Chase Private Banker or JP Morgan Private Client. So, there's a lot of stuff out there for you with credit cards, but that's the thing, credit cards are necessary evil to build your credit and to function in society these days. So I know there's a lot of people that kind of eschew, like, especially the Dave Ramseys and stuff like that, are like, oh, credit, you don't need credit. It's complete horseshit, to be first of all. But second of all, you have to realize that with these cards, there comes responsibility. It's not free money. You've got to treat them right. You have to be responsible with them. You have to be able to control your spending. And a lot of people get in a lot of trouble because They go out and they just run their card and everything. They're not keeping track, and that can get you in a lot of trouble because I don't care how good the credit card is, interest rates are absolutely horrible. Unless you do some sort of balance transfer or something like that, the interest rates are horrible. So it can be very easy to get in some sort of trap financially. So, use with caution, but if you do use them right, there's some amazing cards out there that you can get that can really benefit you and your lifestyle and make life just a lot more pleasant. So now, if you're interested in getting up to these level of cards, no matter where you're at, whether you're just beginning or you've got some negative stuff in your credit report that needs to be resolved, whatever it is, we've got the credit repair and coaching packages in the back office. There's a couple different levels there. There's the gold and platinum. There's also single enrollment or dual enrollment for like couples and things like that, where you get a price break. So with those packages, you either can get 3 months or 9 months worth of coaching, and you also get a full credit repair package of stuff where we can get much as that negative stuff off that's holding you back removed. A lot of people, that stuff can stay on for 7 years. So you're left paying for mistakes that you made half a decade, which I don't think is fair, but it's the way the system is right now. So that's what we do. We specialize in getting that negative stuff removed, so it's not dead weight on you. You can leave that in your past and, get back where you need to be credit-wise and enjoy all these perks. So different packages back there. There's also the business credit package. If you have a small business, LLC, C Corp, S Corp, whatever, something with the EIN number, you can build business credit 100% under the EIN number. So it separates it, legal separation from your personal social and your personal credit, creates that divide, which is a very, very smart move for small business owners and entrepreneurs. So lots of options back there for you. Put in a request for a consultation. I'm more than happy to talk to you. We can chat, see which one might be the best fit for you, or if it's applicable for your situation or your goals, and we'll take it from there. So once again, my name is Steve Didier. We will see you next Tuesday at 5. And I do not have an agenda for next Tuesday, but I'll figure something out between now and then, and we'll make it good. So you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
There is a substantial risk of loss associated with trading Forex, binary options, stocks, or equities, collectively, asset classes. Only risk capital should be used for trading. Trading in any asset classes is not appropriate for everyone. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. No representation is being made that investors will make profits or will not sustain losses. Before trading in any asset classes, investors should consult with their professional broker, financial advisor, or financial consultant to determine whether trading asset classes is appropriate. Investors who trade in any asset classes should only do so if the capital used for this purpose represents funds that an investor can afford to lose without adversely impacting the investor's lifestyle. No trading strategy or methodology is without risk of loss. No trading strategy is risk-free, and no trading strategy can guarantee profits or freedom from losses. Investors risk losing the cost to execute any transaction, including associated commissions or fees. You should carefully consider whether trading in any asset class is appropriate for you in light of your investment experience and financial resources. Any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. None of the statements or materials in the Auvoria Prime chat rooms constitute a solicitation or recommendation to buy or sell.